Greetings shiftlings, FiOth here, and in today's guide we're gonna go over the best perks that you can have on your firearms. In the previous vid we talked about melee weapons, you will find it linked below, and in this one we're gonna go over firearms and bows. In my eyes, the ranged weapons we will have on your person are in two separate categories. One category is about the weapons you actually wanna use for your range builds, for dishing out huge damage from a distance, and so on and so forth. And the second kind of configuration consists of firearms and bows that you will have on you just to augment the effectiveness of your melee damage. I'm gonna go into detail about both of these right now. So as you can see, we can have two firearms or bows equipped at any given time. Not both of our slots here are the same though. The primary slot, that is the top slot, will dictate pretty much everything that's added to your stats by having the weapon there. For example, I have a lightning cannon here with item drop rate and a warrior of the west bow with item drop here. I go to my character, I go all the way down to find item drop rate. It's right here, you can see it at the middle section of my scroll bar, and it says 14.7%. I go here, take out my Warrior of the West bow that is on the secondary slot, go to my stats, and my drop rate is still 14.7. If I take out my primary ranged, then as you can see it's 10.3, exactly 4.4. That was the stat on my ranged weapon. So what we have to understand is that the firearm or bow that we have on the upper slot is what will actually give us buffs to our damage and to our stats and to our drop rates and so on and so forth, and the secondary can be used purely for combat. It's a very clever system, so you do not always try to hoard stat boosters on your ranged weapons, and you can always carry a gun that's dedicated to combat and one that's dedicated to stats boosting. So what we actually want here will heavily depend first and foremost on the kind of armor you are wearing. I'll take a look at my character here. Our agility stat down here is a B. Okay, I'm wearing heavy and light armor, a configuration of those, and because of that and because of my stamina, I'm looking at a B rating. Okay, if my stamina was higher, that affects my equipment rate, I could pretty easily go close to A or even reach it with specific setup, but I do not want that because I do not want to invest in that stat. So first and foremost, as I said, we're gonna be looking at our damage booster, at our general damage booster here, and in my case it's damage bonus familiarity. That's because damage bonus agility wouldn't do much for me because I'm B, and equipment lightness would not do much for me either because I am wearing quite a lot of armor. Now we're gonna go to the smithy, we're gonna temper, just to give you an example, and we are going to try a couple of firearms to have an understanding of what we can expect. As you can see down there, we're looking at damage bonus agility A, damage bonus equipment lightness A, and damage bonus unarmored A. A for all but one of these buffs is the best you can get. Okay, there is one of these stats that can go beyond, and you can see it right here, is damage bonus equipment lightness AA. It starts as a AA minus and caps at AA at 999 out of 999 familiarity. This is the best buff you can get if you are wearing extremely light armor. So our first criteria for choosing is our agility and our gear. not our weapons, but our gear. We will go with equipment lightness AA if we're wearing the lightest possible armor we can. If we're not wearing anything, we'll go unarmored, but that's kind of stupid, like you lose a ton of perks, you don't want to do that. Then if we're really light but still wearing quite a bit, and we hit agility A and close to B, but before we get to B, so we retain that A, we will go with agility bonus on A, and then if that doesn't work either, we will go back to our initial stat, that is damage bonus based on familiarity, like you can see on my Warrior of the West bow here. This is the most important factor, and it should always go on your primary firearm. It makes a ton of difference when it comes to your damage, and you always want to have it on. Second, for your primary, if you wanna optimize your drops, you wanna have both item drop rate and equipment drop rate. On a firearm, those are uncommons, yellow perks, and you want to roll them because they're really gonna help you with your overall drops. Either you're looking for smithing texts or items in general, or gear and weapons. It's a very good combination to have both of those. Okay, apart from that, you can go for gold, you can go for Amrita, you can put on one of your weapons, if it is on the primary slot, only things that help you with gathering consumables. Amrita, gold, items and equipment. There is a specific exception when it comes to what you will have on this slot though, and that is that lightning cannon that you see here and its brethren of cannons are the only firearms capable of rolling a specific buff for a specific ailment. We're gonna take a look at this. So cannons can roll with this, that's fire damage bonus 10.9 plus. That means that by having a cannon as your primary firearm with fire damage on it, all your fire damage will be upped by almost 11%. Guardian Spirit fire damage, Talisman fire damage, imbued weapons fire damage, shots from your Onmyo related to fire, sensory overload, all of this will benefit from this buff. So if you're gonna go really optimal, you should have a cannon with fire damage on it, and then item drop rate, equipment drop rate, gold drop rate, Amrita drop rate, and one bonus for the best possible damage booster that you can get according to what you are wearing. That should be optimal. And before you start asking me, well, how would I get all these perks? We have equipment here, item drop rate, reroll this for gold for example, or Amrita, gold or Amrita here, and you can pull an orange inheritable from another weapon and drop it in here so you can re-roll it and have it for equipment lightness, agility, familiarity, unarmored, as I stated earlier, and so on and so forth. And apart from that, you can use whatever else you like we have here on our top right, item drop rate versus humans. That's also something that you can consider if you're farming for very specific things with very specific firearms. Alternatively, we talked about firearms and bows that are optimized for combat. On your second slot, you can always have one of those. I was tinkering with this Negoro rifle a little while ago. That's because the Negoro has the auto target weak point perk on it by default, locked in this specific type of rifle. That's very good, because as long as you are locked onto something, you can really fast pull out your matchlock and shoot his head or his weak point. So to optimize this, I got range damage, a flat 10%, increased movement speed while aiming a ranged weapon by 100%, rifle speed up so it readies and reloads faster, damage bonus agility because I had an empty slot, bullet and arrow key damage, and life drain bullseye. This is pretty much perfectly tuned for combat, and this can go into my second slot, and it will serve me perfectly if I wanna have it as my primary damage dealer over distances. What I should be getting for my primary, probably a cannon with fire damage on it, since I am using a lot of fire damage with my spear, as you can see here, impure fire, and so on and so forth. So the main point I wanted you to take out of this vid is we get one firearm that we optimize for our drops and for our buffs, and we put it on the upper slot, and one that's optimized for combat, and we put it on the secondary slot because it will not interfere in any way with what we will be getting from its stat boosters. The stat boosters will not impact us in the least. Hope you found this useful. That concludes the guide for what we should be looking for in our firearms and bows. Sub, like, and share if you like this. The next video will be about armor perks. I'm FiOth, and as always, I'm covering everything in Neo 2. Until next time, be well, stay frosty, and always strive for perfection. Cheers!